Hello, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me, and hopefully so. I'm in the sea, so it might be a little echo. Hello, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me, and hopefully so. I'm in the sea. Okay, so it seems like y'all can hear. That's a good thing. When I tell you that I have been through the storm and the rain, but she made it. Anyway, everybody, she is hot. Menopause is real.
No, Private Summers.
Private summers, menopause. I want y'all to see. Y'all see the stain in my glasses. Anyway, welcome to another episode of To a Woman's Heart, where we uplift, motivate, encourage, and empower women. Well, tonight, as you can see, the segment is called Flipping the Script, Your Story. And tonight, I got a story. I have plugged up two laptops. One laptop, I can get the keyboards to work for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when none of it worked. Then all of a sudden, the pop up for Windows Update came up on the screen. And you know how Windows Update is, right? So that was a challenge. So then I told Linda, I said, well, Linda, I said, get your laptop and let's try with your laptop. So we hooked up Linda's laptop and it still was booting up. Hey, Ashanti, it was still booting up. And so I was like, okay, let's try the iPad. Now I got all these lights, I got my cameras up and everything working to do this stream, and none that I prepared worked. So you kind of get a little discouraged when things don't go the way you want them to go. But neither here nor there. We're going to make it work today. We're going to press on through with what we're going to do today. But I do want to say to my sister Diva here, ladies, today is Miss Linda's birthday. She turned 71 today. 71 young. You turn around backwards, that is 17.
Oh,
So
yes.
y'all give her a little shout out and say happy birthday, Miss Linda. Send her some love. Send her some love. So we're in close quarters because we're doing it from the iPad.
But that's all right.
It's
That's
all
all
right.
right.
We're gonna make it do what it
It's
do.
going to do what
We
it
know how to
has to
improvise. We as women know how to make things work.
happen. We make it
We
happen.
make it happen. You know, we make cornbread out of nothing. So, you know, we makes it happen. So, ladies, as I'm going through this real ugly phase of a hot flash right now, we're going to be talking about your story and how I came to the title of this. Because as you all know, I look on social media, I listen to conversation, I talk to different individuals, and I listen to women when they say, and they keep a lot of things to themselves that have impacted their life. Like, for instance, a woman that has been violated. Nobody in her family knows she's been violated, whether it's by a close friend, whether it's by a relative, or whether it's just, she's walking home from work or whatever it may be. Because we as women, we keep a lot of stuff to ourselves and we don't share. Again, it goes back to other strength because sometimes we feel like people are going to judge us or people may feel like we're lying. The other thing that pricked this thought process about your story is I heard on a reality show a young lady who was dealing with abuse in her marriage, and nobody knew that she was dealing with abuse. And I say all the time, when you see women that's angry, upset, and out of character, you don't know what's the behind story that caused them to be that way. Um, Another one that I saw was a lady who had anger issues. She was a runaway at a young age, and being a runaway, she ended up in the wrong hands of a pimp. And because she was a young woman, she ended up being put on the street for prostitution. Now, these are some deep, dark secrets. These are some stories that we have deep in our chest that's locked away that we don't want to deal with, we don't want to talk about, we don't want to share. Again, for the fear of judgment. But what we don't realize is the impact that it has on our life, our temperament, our attitude, how we deal with things, how we respond to things, and even it plays fear in some aspects of our lives. You know what I'm saying? Um, Daddy issues, girls with daddy issues. Some women with daddy issues would never trust a man. You know what I'm saying? Because daddy wasn't there. They didn't get what they needed from their father. It takes a strong woman to actually break away from the story of her life and look at it as not a hindrance or a failure in her eyesight, but something that will help her become a better person. And at the same time, as we as women go through these things in our lives, everybody has a purpose, everybody has a journey, everybody has a role that they have to walk, whether they want to or not. And I've shared this many times. For me, my story was my son. You know, having a son that was 6 months premature, being born, way before the time, and being 1 pound and 12 ounces. That was my story. That story had great impact on my life. So much impact that certain Lifetime, I don't even watch Lifetime anymore because Lifetime was depressing to me. You follow what I'm saying? Um, my son used to watch Barney all the time. I don't watch anything that has something perfect because I buried Barney with my son. And then I hear you, Ashante. You lost your mom, and my whole life has changed. I'm lost, confused, hurt, upset, don't want to be bothered most of the time, don't know if I'm coming or going. And I can relate to that too because I lost my mom from pancreatic cancer. You follow what I'm saying? So my story I can share as me and Linda talks about all the time. We have deep conversations. So I'm gonna say this. My dad was murdered in the front yard. His birthday was October the 4th. October 29th, he was murdered. My son was born August the 6th, 1991. In September of 94, he was gone. In 97, my mother passed of pancreatic cancer. You follow what I'm saying? And I say this all the time, as Linda, you can relate too. It's hard when you lose a parent. And yesterday was my mom's birthday. And so you look at, I'm so used, and I play this back in my mind all the time. When we used to live on Ferdinand in the city, I would get up because she would get up at 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning, and she would go to the kitchen table. She would fix us some breakfast. She would make sure my dad had something to eat, and she would get her cup of coffee with her salsa. Now, I still don't understand this to this day. You fill up the cup of coffee, and then you spill over the coffee in the bottom of the salsa. I didn't never understand it. To this day, I still don't understand it. But she used to sit there with the first thing she did was she had her Bible all the time. She would scratch it and she would read it and everything. So you're used to certain patterns about your mom. I was used to be able to walk and just touch her. You know what I'm saying? Or go in the kitchen and say, Mama, I need to talk to you about something. And she always had wise words, but her smile was the trigger for me. If she would just turn around and just smile, I would be okay. Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Your daughter's father was murdered February 27 this year. My mom passed May 16 this year. So my heart goes out to you because I can relate. And what people don't understand, this is your story. And a lot of people say, even in death, I understand. But if you never stood in those shoes, you don't understand what it feels like to stand in those shoes. There is what I call a roller coaster of emotions that you go through. It's the washing machine cycle. You soak for a minute, you pre-wash, then you wash, then you rinse, then you spin out, and then you rinse, and then you come to a halt. Those are the cycles of your life. And when I say the washing machine cycle of life, that is your hurt, your confused, your anger, your frustrations, you not understanding,
Not really an acceptance of it. Me,
yeah,
no, this can't be happening to me.
you're not in acceptance of, you close your businesses and I'm lost, I'm just lost. Well, I'm gonna say this to you. Find purpose in your business because your business was awesome. Use it to represent your mother. Honor her through your business. Yep.
Keep her alive.
Keep her alive through your business. You know, and it's something that we have to learn how to deal with because in the early stages of death, you're lost. You're lost. You don't know which way to turn, and you can't talk to everybody because everybody don't understand what you're dealing with and what you're going through because they haven't stood in those shoes. Now you can see my emotion, you can see the emotional roller coaster, you can see the tears, but you don't really understand what I'm going through. And a lot of people shut down in life. They totally shut down in life. And it's hard to push yourself to do better and to get past the stage that you're in.
When you're like locked, stuck, can't move, can't figure out which way to go to actually come up out of it.
So, in the passing of your mother, what was the things you did to get past?
Well, for one thing, my mother kind of prepared me
Mm-hmm.
because she died of colon cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she didn't have a lot of temperament where I was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so because I was always the competitive one,
Mm-hmm.
I challenge everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we had that communication and that lock.
Mm-hmm.
And when she told me it was her, she felt like she needed me to be over there. I knew that the time was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned how to pray.
Mm-hmm.
I just prayed and asked God to bring me through this because I know it's fixing to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched other people lose their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I lost my stepfather, but it was a difference,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and he committed suicide, so he had a lot of hidden issues,
Mm-hmm.
So when you wrap them all up, but the biggest thing with me was the fact that my mother relied on me for a lot of things, and I basically loved the challenge, but she told me, you're going to have to watch your sister, keep your sister, take care of your sister, do what you need to.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I want to meet with you all, which we never got to that point.
Mm-hmm.
But she told me, and then my grandmother, she was a big factor in my life. Now, when she died, I froze.
Mm-hmm.
I had just finished my book, and was going to take her one.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to the place where she was, I saw my aunt, my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow, what has happened? One of them stopped me and said, wait a minute, you need to know before you go in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't move. I just,
Right.
my world just,
Stop.
what am I going to do now? Where's Big Mama's gone?
Right.
And it was more of an impact with my grandmother dying
It was your mother.
than it was with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my mother raised me,
Mm-hmm.
but my grandmother had last say.
Mm-hmm.
She gave me the nutrient
That you needed.
and all of that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a road to climb. But once you get in your mind that this is not a permanent place, that they were just passing through,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of easier to deal with. Oh, she was just passing through here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see her later. You know, that's my opinion. Now, with my father, I wasn't around him until I got to become an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But I had emotions, you know, where he was concerned. But, you know, it was like he too had, in his own way, had prepared me, you know. So those three, you know, my three, and then after that, everybody else just started. You know, so I look at death as a passage.
But here's my thing, and Shanti says she's numb in disbelief that this all happened like this, and I can understand. But what I say to anybody who has a loved one that has transitioned, find you a group of individuals who
Create
have
a group.
experienced the same thing that you have experienced, or use it as a tool to create a group and draw those individuals that stood in your shoes. Because there are a lot of women out here who've experienced death and is still walking around numb. They're still walking around not conscious of they are actually here. They're functioning, but they're really not functioning. And the reason I say that is, Ashante, because when my son passed, I believe in some form of fashion, I kind of snapped. You know what I'm saying? My body was here physically, but my mind mentally was gone. And I think because of the shock of his death, because he was a 3-year-old, was the first thing. The second thing, he was my only child. And it was like, okay, I had this child, but now he's not here anymore. You follow what I'm saying? And so I also, in going through the grieving period, as we call it, you can't never let nobody box you in when it comes down to grieving, because everybody grieves differently. And then I'm going to say this too, and it might upset some people, but I'm okay with that. Because you have faith in God, don't mean that you won't waver. You feel what I'm saying? In your emotions. That don't mean you don't trust him. But right now, I'm dealing with this thing right here, and it's rough for me to deal with.
Why did you let this happen to me?
Yes.
Why me, God?
Especially at the moment when you don't need it to happen, and you need that person the most. You feel what I'm saying? And you don't feel like you've been prepared for the transition. So it makes it much harder. And I say to anybody that's listening, if you have a friend, if you have a loved one, sometimes for me, all they need to do is just talk it out. If you just sit there and listen to them, just let them talk it out. Whatever the emotions is, however they feeling, let them talk it out. You will find that you will feel so much better. I'm telling you from experience. Sometimes you have to go outside and get you a good scream, a good holler. You know, get you a good a bat and hit something so hard till you can release everything that's deep down within inside you. That
you gotta know how to do that.
Exactly.
You gotta know how to do that. You can't just keep it bottled in, because eventually it's like a ginger ale. Take the top off,
and it's gonna bubble out.
After you sugar it up, sugar it up, sugar it up, you take the top off of it, and it's everywhere. So,
it is.
You know, you got to make a plan.
And it's a, I tell anybody, it's a hurtful thing. Whether you prepare for the death or whether you're not.
It's still gonna be painful.
It's painful. The doctor could come in and say, like they did for my mom, your mom has pancreatic cancer. We have to put her in hospice. Now we know she got pancreatic cancer. We know she's going in hospice, but that doesn't make it any better. That we know. It does not. Just like sudden death doesn't make it any better. The point is somebody that you love, is somebody that's near and dear to your heart, and it's a part of you that's missing.
That's gone, that's left you. there's a void there. It's like this opening right there that was closed, but now since that party's gone, it's back open. But it's not really open if you look at it. It's a lot of memories and stuff that's left in that pack. It's a lot of things that are beneficial, you know. They might be gone in the body, but that's just the body. That's not, you know, in my heart, I know my grandmother was watching me, you know. But it took a while to get to that.
It's not overnight.
It's not. And then there's sometimes that I relate back to all of it. You know, now like today is my birthday, but today is also the death of one of my brothers. Now he used to call me when he moved to Colorado. Dwayne used to call me on my birthday at 12:01. But the year that he died, he called me at 10 and told me, he said, I might not be able to make that call. He said, but I just want you to know I love you and happy birthday. At 12, shortly after 12, my other brother called me. I said, I know. I know. You know what you know if you believe in God. You got to have that trust that God's going to put it there for you.
But here's the thing. Everybody don't have the belief in God.
Okay.
And so with that, the anger
still remains.
It still remains, but I think
it's expanding.
It's more. How would I put it? The anger is exceeded what our anger would be. You know what I'm saying? Because now they're blaming, even though they don't believe in God, and say the parent or their loved one, uncle, auntie, whoever may be, believe in God. And then their anger, this is why I don't believe in God. You took my mama, you took my daddy, you took my brother, you took my sister, you did this, you did that. So now the anger kicks in. Now you blaming God for taking your loved one. But there is life and death. We can deal with the life, but we don't want to deal with the death. And that's me too. So when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself, because when my mother passed, when my father was murdered, I struggled. You know, even in her sickness, I struggled. And even after their death, I struggled. So much so that I was sleeping in my bed one night and I didn't realize, you know, subconsciously your mind can take you to places that you really don't want to go because you're grieving. And I guess I must have had the covers, you know, tucked over my head really hard. And my grandmother, she came, and I'll never forget it. Clear, she was pretty bright, had on this lavender two-piece. And I can actually feel her remove the cover off of me. So I guess at that moment, that's her saying, be at peace with this. You need to let this go. But everybody don't arrive at that place
and realize that that's what's going on. Everybody doesn't have that extra sense to know that if you laying up in the bed and you see a vision that's probably a relative, they either coming to let you know, they either coming to warn you, to let you know they're pleased with you, or to tell you some kind of message.
They okay.
But you got to know what those signs are. You got to know them.
And all I'm saying is, it's not easy. We're not sitting here saying that what anybody deal with as it relates to a loss, that is easy. It's not. And for mothers whose children transitions, it's not easy. And I'm going to tell you why, because I can speak to that. Because when the doctor said you're pregnant, that instantly creates that bond. And as that child grows within you, that is your connection, because that child is become a part of you. And for a parent, if you have close relationships with a parent and you used to them being happy, you used to them being, the life of the party, and you used to picking up the phone and calling them whenever you need them, whether it's a grandmother, whether it's a father, whether it's a mother, you can call them at any time, and then all of a sudden that communication ceases. That's a shift in your life.
Big shift.
So now what used to be a great thing has become something empty. Is very hard to deal with, and you're at a loss. It's like, being in a new neighborhood and you don't know no streets, what roads to go down, how to make your turns, and none of that.
That's being in a new city.
Right. Exactly. So you're in a whole new area when it comes down to the death of a loved one. And it's a lot. And you cannot allow nobody to box you in and tell you how long it should take you to grieve. Because each individual is different and everybody grieves differently. You have to take time for yourself to do what you need to do, what's best for you. And you can't let nobody, and I mean nobody, tell you what you should do, how you should do it, because they're not standing in your shoes, they're not sitting in your seat, and they don't understand the emotional roller coaster that you're going through at that present moment. They on the front of that ride, they at the back. They ain't got to the front yet.
Or even standing on the side watching you go.
Yeah, but I'm telling you,
I know how you feel.
You don't know how I feel, but I'm telling you, when people say that, they haven't experienced that. And I say this, I got a t-shirt that said it, and you need to put your bottom lip to your top one and lock it. Because you don't understand. And people need to be careful when they say, somebody in their family, your mother passed, oh, I understand, and your mother's still breathing. You can't understand what I'm going through if I'm looking at your mother and she's there at the house with you, offering her condolences as well. Ain't no way in hell you can understand what I'm dealing with. Now, when it comes back around, and a lot of people, it has come back around, and some people even have to apologize because we use words that we really don't understand the value of those words. And when you say you're going to be there for somebody, be there for somebody. Don't just say you're going to be there and not be there. And then I'm going to say this, and I'm going to let Linda chime in. The family needs you the most when everything is over with. That is the hardest time. That's when the emotions, that's when the heartbreak, that's when the anger, that's when the confusion, that's when that's the washing machine cycle. That's when it begins. Because now everything is quiet. Your mind is starting to go over time. And now you really realize it has sunk in that
person's not here. They're gone. Not here for me to call, talk to, they're gone. What can you do?
And that is the hardest time in life. And I know it's the hardest time because after my son's funeral, I had to go back to the apartment in which we stayed in. And nobody was there but me. I had to pack up his bedroom. I had to pack up his clothes. I had to pack up his oxygen tank. Everything.
You had to do it.
I had to do it. And when you go through your mother's closet, when you go through her clothes, when you go through the jewelry, when you go through a perfume, whether you like it, the perfume or not, it's still You
was
smell, you
hard,
see, like
yeah.
you smell her. You feel what I'm saying? You packing up who this person was. And in packing their stuff up, it's like the realization that they're not here anymore. And that messes with your mind. And you talk about crying, you talk about bawling tears, Niagara Falls just flowing. That is the roller coaster of life, packing up their stuff. Because it makes it final that they're not going to be here anymore. And that's the hardest part. Yesterday was 3 months since your husband died. My heart
Yeah.
goes out to you.
Keep looking up, keep pushing, sweetie, keep pushing.
And I say this, you
'Cause
know,
he wouldn't want you to give up.
right. And that's hard too.
Yeah, he wouldn't
Especially if you've
want you
been
to give
married
up.
to somebody for so many years.
Yeah.
And you've gotten used to how they snore, how they
They're in
sleep,
that house.
yeah, how they get in the bed, even though if they hog the covers, what time they get up to go to the work, what time they get up and go to the bathroom. You get to know all their little nuances and their nooks and their crannies. You follow what I'm saying? You all have grown together with each other.
Yes.
And that's hard too. Because my mama even said it when my daddy died. She was like, another man would never put his shoes up under my bed.
Mm.
That's exactly what she said.
But you know what, Renee? Like the guy that I lived with for 11 years,
Mm-hmm.
Red was like a matriarch to my family because he was 11 years older than me. Okay. And I never knew how I really felt about him until he died. I mean, it was a relationship, but it was more of a friendship. But when he got sick, he made a request that he go to be with his sister because he told me, he said, you wouldn't be able to take what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when he went to live with his sister, it kind of bothered me, but gave me more to do because he was there for my mother's funeral, for my grandmother's funeral. I mean, he was there. He was like the big brother to everyone, So not realizing the impact that he actually had on my life, I would always laugh about it. Everybody would always say, "Here come Red, here come Papa Red," because he was knowledgeable. Now I find myself when I be talking to the guys about different things, I find myself bringing up things that Red would have told them through his walk. So you don't really lose all of that person. You have some parts of that person remind you, like a lot of things that he taught me about drywall. I mean, now, hey, I'm 71. I ain't finna paint my fingernails. That's not on the wall, but I've been taught. So that stayed with me. So with the lady that lost her husband 3 months ago, she has a lot probably that he's left with her. Grab hold to that, put that in your box and bring it out when you need to. But sister, you got to move on.
But you know what? The thing is, it's the physical aspect of the person that they miss the most.
Yeah.
Especially if anybody that's been married past 20 years, that is hard. Because I think my mom and my dad was married like 40-something years. And it's hard. My friend, my best friend, when her husband passed, she told me they would have been married 41 years. And that was hard for her. So when she got up in the morning, she was used to getting up, cooking them breakfast. The routine now has changed. Now I no longer have that responsibility. And even when I go to bed, now I'm going to bed by myself. Nobody's saying, babe, you come to bed with me or whatever it may be. So now that routine has shifted. Now when you roll over, instead of seeing somebody on the other side, that side is empty. That's hard. That's very hard. And any relationship that you have with any of your loved ones, whether it's a mother, whether it's a relative, or whoever it may be, when they transition a child, it's hard. And don't let nobody tell you that it's not. And until you walked in those shoes, you would never understand the emotional roller coaster ride that goes along with the loss of a loved one. You would never get it. You would never grasp it. So I'm saying your story is your story. It has a purpose and it has its place. It's the journey and the road in which we walked, but even in my journey and my road in which I walk, my journey and my road have helped others.
Some kind of way.
It has. It has helped others. Um, and like I say, I can talk about me. I can't talk about nobody else's story, but I can talk about mine. And like I said, I had a friend when my son passed who ended up being pregnant. She was contemplating getting rid of the child. And I told her, no, let me, hold on, let me bring you something to work the next day. And then after reading this, let me know if this is what you want to do. And I brought her my son's obituary. And her daughter is grown to this day. And she was grateful for that. So even though it may be a little rough, even though it may be hard, go through the roller coaster ride.
Know that if you got faith in any supreme being, superior, Allah, Jehovah, whoever, is where your faith will really come into play. It'll come into play. You won't understand it, but it'll come into play. Believe me.
And it will get better.
Yeah, it will.
It's not going to get better overnight. So ain't no sense of saying that it is, because it depends on how deep your grieving is. But it will get better. It will get better. You just have to take your time and just coast on through it. Coast through it. And whatever your emotion is, whatever it is, I don't care if you feel like crying, then just go ahead and cry. Don't. You know, the worst thing you can do for yourself is to sniffle it up. Yeah, if you need to cry, go ahead and cry. And if you have to tell somebody, they call you, you tell them, I don't want to talk today. Today is not a good day. Then tell them, today is not a good day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. You have that right, because those emotions are going to sway backwards and forth until you get to a even tempo where you can kind of deal with it. But coming out the gate, baby, let me tell you, they gonna go this way, they gonna go that way, they gonna go that way, they gonna go that way. You gonna be depressed, you gonna be frustrated, you gonna be irritated, you gonna be aggravated, you cry, you don't know why. You know, you can watch stuff on TV, it sets you off, or you can be cooking your favorite meal, or the meal your mom cooked, or your husband cooked, or you fed your kid. That can bring up, you know,
that pain.
Or for me,
that memory,
that brings up it brings up those emotions.
Yeah, it's a
for me, baby showers sometimes triggers me. Graduations triggers me. Watching a movie where a mother loses her child, I have to cut it off. I had to tell somebody a couple of years ago, they was posting all these babies in the hospital sick and asking for prayer. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in prayer. But for me, it was a trigger. And when you get in that zone, it's hard to dig yourself out of it once you're in that space. And so for me, I don't want to put myself in that space if I don't have to, because I already have to deal with the natural aspect of the roller coaster ride of emotion. So I don't want to put myself in that zone where I have to see on my Facebook page babies in the hospital hooked up to, because that's what my son went through. Being
that's a flashback.
In intensive care for a year.
That's a flashback.
It is. So I don't want to see that. But I'm going to say this. If we can learn to call those who loved ones have transitioned and just tell her, I just call and say I love you. That's it. Or call and say, I dropped some food off at your door. Something to just help their journey to be a little bit easier. Because it's hard. It's very hard in grieving when somebody's transitioned. But know this, that your story has a purpose. Even through your pain, it has a purpose. You're going to help somebody else down the road.
What is this song? No pain, no gain.
That's
That
the
used to
same.
be a song. No pain, no gain.
Yeah. So think about that. And like I say, if you can find you some groups that it has walked or are walking in the same shoes you're walking in, then join them. And even if you need to get some therapy,
Ain't nothing wrong.
there's
with
nothing wrong with getting you some therapy. Go and find somebody you can talk to. It does not take away your faith or none of that. But we all have
that.
to.
You used to could talk to your pastor about these kind of things.
Yeah, well, some
You know,
pastors
and
you
then there
can.
were parenting programs within the church to help you through these type of emotions.
But
that you're
even
going
at that, again, as I say, if they have not experienced what you experienced, they can tell you from a certain perspective, but they really don't understand. You know what I'm saying? You can give me scriptures all day long,
But some of them do have gone through
but I'm
what
saying
it
that's
is
what I'm
you're going
saying.
through.
The talk,
They have gone through it, so
yeah,
they would be more equipped with what they went through and how they got through it to
exactly.
explain it than you would take it from a total stranger or a psychiatrist. Some people are like that. They rather go to somebody in the church or uh, grandma's friend and talk to them as opposed to talking to a psychiatrist.
Well, however it is, however works for you to get you the results that you need, that's what you need to do for you. But I'm saying to anyone who is in a grieving stage or who have grieved, don't box yourself in. Let those emotions flow. Let them flow. Don't shut them down. Just let them flow. They're your emotions. And that don't mean that you're crazy. And sometimes, being to yourself is not a bad thing. With my certain years on my son's birthday, I don't fool with nobody. I don't call nobody. I let people know because I can feel those emotions coming. I'm staying to myself. Ain't got nothing to do, nothing against anybody. But that day, I need to me. I just need to get through this day. And I don't want nobody asking me 30,000 questions. Oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you feeling this way? He been dead such and such a years. You should be over by now. You'll never be over it. Ever. Some years are better than others. But will you ever get over it? No, because they're still gone. They're still not here. That's all I'm saying. So I hope that this has helped somebody today. I really do. I hope that it's provided you some insight um, into your story. And we all have a story. And it just happened. It wasn't supposed to be about transitioning, but I guess that's what God intended for it to be about.
Yeah, because I was just thinking that it's supposed to be a happy day for me.
Right.
And I'm talking about death and getting over pain and grief. And
Yeah. So
I'm
clear,
not confused though. I do what he say do.
clearly, that's the direction he had this conversation to go. And then I'm going to say this: know that you're not alone. You're not. You're not alone. And you want to talk, Ashanti, if you're still on and you're listening, and you just want to vent, I can listen. I truly understand. Been there, stood in those shoes, sat in that seat. So I understand. And I just want us as women to learn how to be supportive to one another.
But you know what? The big thing about this whole grieving, everybody has at some point gone through grieving up to 2021. Everybody has face some loss. Okay, so really, it should be a point where we shouldn't have to have this kind of conversation. We really shouldn't, because it should be a known fact that the act of kindness is necessary when someone loses a loved one. Prayer is needed constantly. Physical assistance is needed constantly. Phone calls are needed constantly. We all should know this, because today, the way everything has been going, we done all lost somebody in death. What the problem is we need to teach the younger ones how to accept and what to deal with in grief.
Yeah, but they know
Because they don't have the clue, while the elders are still trying. Some of them are still trying themselves to grasp it, and some people are, like you say, deep in their grief. You know, how long do you grieve? How long do you stay in that box? That depends on that individual. You know, to me, in my opinion, after my mother died, I knew I didn't have too much time, because that meant the responsibility of my grandmother and my sister. So, my grandmother being the type of woman she was, Big Mama was able to maintain everything. But I had to learn when she died how to adapt. Well, when my mother died, I had already learned how to adapt her loss. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't as critical, but the hardest one was when my aunt died, my Aunt Josephine. When she died, nobody knew how that took me and how long I grieved, because there's no limit to a grieving.
It's not.
You grieve, you might grieve till your death. About it. So,
yeah. And grieving does not always mean the death of someone.
no.
It can be the loss of something. You feel what I'm saying? It could be you grieving the loss of a love, somebody that you love deeply, and they walked away. You know, so
Not making an accomplishment.
you can grieve that too. So we always think grieving is in death, and it's not always in death. So I'm just saying, ladies, let us be supportive. This is what To a Woman's Heart is all about. Uh, being supportive one to another. And that's what we need to do. So I'm asking you, ladies, post something encouraging on the social media outlets: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, on the website. Um, so we could be encouraging, we could be uplifting to somebody.
Pass it on.
And pass it on, because you never know what shoes somebody's standing in at that present moment. And you don't know what it will do for them. Just a kind word. I don't have to be the one that posts all the time. I don't. So Ashante, I want you to pick your business back up and do it for your mother. You know, create some things, some slogans, because I know she done told you some slogans. Put them out there. They'll make you smile. That's all I'm saying. All right. So Linda's gonna tell you about something she's putting out here quickly, because we are almost an hour to
the air purifier.
Yeah, quickly.
The reason we don't have to wear masks and we're so close showing, we wear air purifiers. This purifies the air 3 feet around us. So therefore, the air that we're breathing in is purified before it gets to us. And I'm marketing this because my plan is to try to arrange where seniors have this in their possession, so that they feel more comfortable and are more willing to come out of their domain, their homes or what have you, other than shopping. And then while they're out, they can also wear this. So watch for this. When I do an invite, come on out and see what we're talking about.
All right. And ladies, I'm asking every lady on this stream, every lady that's on Facebook, go to toawomansheart.com, find you a t-shirt that you like, and order one. Do that for me. Okay? All right. Again, we're still highlighting women in business. I got a young lady who's coming soon, that she's got an awesome business that she's going to be sharing. And anybody else who has a young woman who wants to highlight their business, send me an email at number2awomansheart.com. And don't forget, ladies, we have a social media outlet just like Facebook, but it's only for women. Spread the word to a womansheart.org. And soon I have the little snippet of a video that I'm going to be posting. I've created a hair mask. It's called Amani's Hair Mask. It's good for natural hair. It's good for hair that's colored. It helps with breakage. It helps with shedding. It puts the oils and the juices back in your hair. It detangles. And how it works is you put it on your hair. You can let it sit on there as long as you want. And then you rinse it out and you wash it like you would wash your hair the regular way. So I'm going to be posting that video. And I want you all, I'm going to ask 15 women to try it out. But they have to be 15 women that's local in the state of Illinois, okay? It is a natural hair product, all right? And it will be pre-order because it's natural and I'm making it from scratch. So, all right, look out for that. And I thank you all. I know we went a little over, but I think it was needed. And so I'm going to say, let us pray for one another. Let us keep our women, our mothers, our single mothers uplifted. I posted a video on my personal page of a young lady talking about staying at a hotel and their sex trafficking in South Carolina. Ladies, please be careful. Don't walk by yourself. Don't go out by yourself. Go out in twos. Pay attention to your surrounding. Sex trafficking is real. They're taking women, cutting up their body parts. They put them on the street. They're black marketing everything. So we have to be aware to stay safe. And I'm not saying live in fear, but be aware of your surroundings. Okay? All right. All right. Until we talk again, ladies, it was a blast tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and invite somebody the next time to come and join in on the stream. And let's have a good dialogue like we had tonight. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I thank you, ladies. Talk to you soon.